This game ended up being a lot more interesting than it should have been, didn't it? And you can see in this game why NHL players were worried about Carey Price. As ridiculous as it may have sounded when they were trying to come up with how to have these playoffs work and how many games to make it, this is what they were worried about. Carey Price, absolutely fantastic again tonight. Gave Montreal every opportunity to not just stay in this game, but flirt with the idea of stealing it. And they very nearly did. So let's get into it. The Penguins coming into tonight had lost 7 straight playoff games. They lost their last 2 against the Capitals in 2018. They lost 4 in a row last year against the Islanders, and of course they lost Game 1 against Montreal. So the idea that this team's having problems is not that far out of the realm of reality. Murray was in net again for the Penguins. I thought that was interesting. I thought they might go to Jari, but clearly Mike Sullivan's decided Murray's the guy. He's our playoff goaltender, and that's that. Early, Lehkonen went with a wraparound attempt and he was stopped. Zucker then had a chance that missed high, and then check it out. It's Crosby with a goal. I believe it was a 68th that ties him with Gordie Howe on the all-time list from Jake Gensel at 425. And it was a poor start for Shea Weber. Shea Weber's taken some criticism I've seen in the comment section. I'm going to go ahead and say yes. The start to this game, not fantastic for Weber. I thought Weber had some good moments tonight, but early on, not that sharp. And Crosby gets a goal. Then there's a too many men on the ice call for the Habs, so the Penguins get a power play, a dangerous power play. Malkin had a pretty good chance that was denied by Price. I thought Malkin had a better game tonight than he did in Game 1. He doesn't get on the board, but I thought he had a better game. And then Price stopped Crosby. So the shots were 9-2 in favor of the Penguins halfway through that first period. And it really looked like, okay, so the Habs are under siege, like Game 1. The interesting thing was they were up 2-1 in shots early on. It looked like maybe Montreal was playing better. But sure enough, Pittsburgh with the under siege mentality here. Pettersson then gets a hooking penalty, which leads to a Habs power play. Marcus Pettersson struggling through the first 2 games. I think I can say that. They had Schultz out there with Johnson tonight. I thought they were fine. So while Justin Schultz and Jack Johnson take a lot of flack, I thought they were good tonight. And I thought of the blue liners for Pittsburgh, it was Pettersson that I kept noticing for the wrong reasons. Armia gets a hold in the Penguin zone, makes it 4-on-4 at 48 seconds. So that power play didn't last. Armia had some challenges tonight as well. The Penguins had their net off, and then the puck, it looked like might have gone in the net, but they reviewed it and said no. So once it was decided that that wasn't going to be a goal, Dumoulin then gets a penalty. It's a 4-on-3 for 15 seconds for the Habs, and then there's another too many men on the ice call against Montreal. How many times do we see this twice in the same period to the same team? So some moments here that Claude Julien, I can assume, to say some garbled words behind the bench. So 1-0 Pittsburgh after 1. But again, it feels like as long as it's a 1-goal game, we'll see. Second period, good start for the Habs. But that would change. Marleau has a wraparound attempt that failed. Things get scrappy at around the 5.5-minute mark. Rust, Danault not getting along. Rust takes a penalty. Habs go to the power play. Rust, there were some temperament issues in this game, as we're seeing with all of the play-in games, and it felt like Rust was losing it a little bit. Penguins' penalty kill was aggressive, and it held off the Habs. Now, when I say that about players, people keep saying in the comment section, well, he was mad because this guy was bugging him. Yeah, that's not the point. The point is that if a player is losing their cool and losing their focus a little bit during the game and they're getting emotional or taking penalties, that means the other team's approach is being successful. It's not a slam on the other player at all. I have been a huge fan of players who absolutely will lose their mind when they're being harassed in-game. So, yeah. And then the power play for the Penguins at the half. Hornquist is back on the first unit, which didn't really help. The Penguins' power play just couldn't quite get it together tonight. Mad scramble. Price made some incredible saves on that penalty kill. And that's a big part of any good penalty kill is your goaltender. And Carey Price was excellent. Absolutely spot on. Fantastic tonight. The Penguins road shooting the Habs, really, it felt like they needed that second goal. As long as it's 1-0. There's that air about a game like all it takes is that one turnover. All it takes is that one play. And there were so few shots going in on Matt Murray, you had to be thinking, when they get that shot, is it going to go in? Is that where we're at? Where it's going to be shot after shot by the Penguins, and then Montreal's going to get one opportunity, it's going to go in. That was going through my mind. I don't know if it was going through the minds of any Penguins fans. Anyways, Weber, Malkin then got taken off during a scrum where Armia got a penalty. The Penguins' fourth power play, and it just became just a mess at that stage. Price continued to be the player of the game. Byron then makes a 5-on-3 out of it with a slash with 26 seconds left in the initial penalties. The Penguins call a timeout with the 5-on-3. It doesn't work. And I'm going to go ahead and wager that Mike Sullivan wasn't overly impressed with how things went coming out of that timeout. You don't want to be using your timeout in a one-goal game and then have nothing come to fruition out of it, which is what happened. The Penguins did ham the Habs in. They did everything except score. Carey Price, absolutely a brick wall for the Montreal Canadiens. There was a great tip with 20 seconds left. Better saved by Price. So the opportunities were there for Pittsburgh. If any goaltender not named Carey Price was in the net for Montreal, this game could have been 4-0. And yet, here we go into the third period with it 1-0. And Montreal being outshot by greater than 2-1 on the shot clock. So, third period, early chance for Tatar. And the Penguins are looking at a trap game at this stage. Because now Montreal's making that push down by 1. Clearly, either Claude Julien said something to them during the intermission, or Montreal, just as a team, collectively said, we're in this. We're only down by 1. Third period, we can do it. So the Habs pushed it around 3 minutes. The Penguins, it seemed, were fighting the puck a bit at that stage, where earlier they were making the crisp passes. They were making really good shots. Maybe it was getting into their heads a little bit, like we can't score on Carey Price. Now we're worried about allowing a goal because Montreal's getting the shots. Domi had a chance that was stopped. There were no shots for the Penguins 6 minutes into that third period. So, again, it really looked like Montreal might be at least close to tying this and going for a steal. If this had gone to overtime, I think Montreal probably would have won this. Gallagher got hit with a shot, exited the game. Not for long. He would come back. So I'm sure there were Montreal fans watching this that kind of went, oh, not Gallagher. And then he stayed in the game. Mete and Danault then had their chances of return to site. I thought Victor Mete had a decent game. I know he's taken some flack along the way this season. I thought he played well. The Penguins' lead, though, felt fragile because the Habs were the much better team in the third period to that stage. Like, it was a Montreal game, and Pittsburgh was definitely fighting it. Pettersson having a rough game due to giveaways, and McCann passed one off to Marleau. Price made the save. But yeah, Pettersson's turnovers to me were really becoming obvious at that stage. Had to write it on the board. It doesn't end up mattering. Zucker scores from Sherry and Dumoulin at 14:41. That made it 2-0, and Price looked skyward. He had no chance on the Zucker chance. And you could just see it looked like that moment where her goaltender's like, I did everything I could. And I'm sure he said some garbled words looking skyward. I felt bad for Carey Price in that moment, I'm not going to lie. Montreal, to their benefit, to their credit, did push back. And it's Jesperi Kotkaniemi with his second goal in 2 games from Lehkonen and Petrie at 17:51. So if you're looking for a silver lining with Montreal, Kotkaniemi is that silver lining for forwards. He is the guy who has looked pretty good. They pull the goalie after that. They did get their share of opportunities, but Pittsburgh would come out. Gensel gets the empty netter from Rust at 19 minutes and 50 seconds. So Gensel with a goal and an assist in this game. Crosby had the goal. Again, Malkin's not on the board, but I thought he had a good game. Pittsburgh wins at 3-1. And worthy of note, they mentioned this at the start. I thought I'd throw it on the board. Montreal is 70-15 in best of 7 series when they win game 1 or game 5, or best of 5 series. Okay, less wordy way of putting it. In any series that Montreal has played, when they win game 1, they are 70-15. That sounds much better. So they still, mathematically, Pittsburgh now is back into this, but Pittsburgh has never won a 5-game series. So there you go. Pittsburgh does have some concerns here, I would think, when you look at the history books. Pittsburgh outshot Montreal 14-7 in the first, 15-6 in the second. In the third period, Montreal outshot them 14-9. Final shots 38-27 in favor of Pittsburgh. Hits were 31-20 in favor of Montreal, which makes sense because Pittsburgh had the puck a lot of the time. Power plays, Montreal 0 for 3 and Pittsburgh 0 for 5. The struggles on special teams for both teams were definitely part of the story tonight. Murray saves 26 out of 27. When he was tested in the third, he was pretty solid. And Carey Price saves 35 out of 37. Price's numbers are absolutely ridiculous through the first two games. Pittsburgh comes out with a split. They're going to be looking to go ahead 2-1 with a game now where Montreal will technically be the home team. They'll wear their home jerseys and they'll have last change. We'll see how that works out for them. But this is a series. And it feels like as long as Carey Price can save 95% of the shots he faces, Montreal's in this. And Carey Price is absolutely capable of doing that right now. He is playing some of the best hockey I've seen him play in a long time. And it likely is because he knows this is playoffs. And you don't get chances at playoffs every year. And you don't get a chance to go on an unexpected run. So we'll see whether or not Pittsburgh is able to beat them in Game 3. And I'll be watching that. And I'll be here to review it when that takes place as well. Let me know your thoughts regarding this game in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.